U.S. Tide fans, you guys enjoy all the players. You want to be updated on all the players. You want to know how all the players are doing, even the ones that may not get the love, the conversation, the clout, the dialogue from many people in the media. You want to know how each and every player is doing for Alabama. So we're going to kind of do this right now. We're going to put the spotlight on guys that don't get a lot of pop, that don't get a lot of dialogue, that don't get a lot of attention, and kind of just update you guys on how they're doing. So first and foremost, we go to the wide receiver room where we pick up Asa Hall, the freshman from Florida, 5-star, 6'3", 195 pounds. So Hall, he exploded on the scene during the A-Day game. I mean, he was Mr. Can't Miss, Can't Lose, Mr. He's that dude. 4 catches for 72 yards from Hall in the A-Day game. Everybody was talking about him. Everybody was buzzing about him in the spring. But since then, he's kind of tapered off just a bit. This is not saying that he's not good. This is not saying that he's not talented. This is just, he's out there, but you've got guys like JoJo Earl and Christian Leary and Ja'Cory Brooks. These guys as freshmen are really taking that next step up. They're really trending forward. They're really trending, high right now. And Asa Hall has been kind of working with the third teamers out there. So this is not saying that he's bad. This is not saying that he's not a good player. He's not a capable player. He's not a quality player. This is just saying that there are other guys on the roster at wide receiver, in particular the freshmen I mentioned, Leary, Earl, and Brooks. They are really taking the next steps to push to be out there in the field, getting that playing time. But just a little update there on Asa Hall. As we transition now into Bayou Jones-Bell, Jones-Bell has had a good camp. He's had a good camp. He's had 2 good scrimmages. He caught the 66-yard touchdown pass from Paul Tyson in the first scrimmage. He's got speed. He's got athleticism. He can break for some big plays. But other guys on the roster at that position have, I guess, kind of a bit more get up and go than he does when you look at just the Trayshawn Holdens, the Learys, the Earls, the Brookses. And then you got, the Mechis, and you got the Jamison Williams, the Slade Boldens. Other guys kind of have a bit more pull than he does. Not to say that he's a bad player, really talented player, good player. But other guys are kind of trending a little bit more so ahead of him, and his time will come. His time will come. Probably won't be necessarily this year, but his time will come. But Bell still having a good camp, still having good performances in the 2 scrimmage games. As we move on here to Javon Baker, and this is the guy that had been doing so much talking on social media about, I'm going to make y'all feel me, I'm going to make y'all see me, I'm going to make y'all understand me. And he started off getting, a little bit of conversation because people saw the size, the height, the physicality, the ability to kind of go up there and go get it. But the issue with Baker is does not have the just breakaway speed, right? And U.S. fans have become so used to those game breakers at wide receiver, those guys that have speed. Like, we have been so spoiled by Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. That group spoiled us because it was catch and beep, beep, gone. Get to the house, get to the crib, get to the apartments, get to the pay dirt, score those touchdowns. So after seeing those 4 guys, we now look at wide receivers as if to say, you got to have that type of speed. And if you don't have that type of speed, are we taking a step back with you? I mean, that's kind of a question right here. So, hopefully Baker can, make up for that and have other areas of his game that can take over it and get him on the field. But, right now, physical guy just does not have that breakaway speed that U.S. fans are used to seeing out there on the field. As we move on here to John Mechie at wide receiver, and he was not talked about at all in the spring due to He didn't play in the spring. He was coming off a couple of surgeries. According to Coach Saban, the Crimson Tide has been trying to work Mechie back full go for the offense because he had to have time to recover, to rehab, and get healed up from those surgeries. He had a couple of nagging injuries down the stretch of last season, but he's 100% now. He's good to go now. Going back to that second scrimmage, he had the 80-yard touchdown reception from Bryce Young. That was really, really good for him out there on the field. And him having that mantle now being passed to him from Devonta Smith, he's got to be the number one receiver. We all know Smitty played with Steakum on his hands. Smitty never dropped the ball. And if he did drop a ball, I clearly did not see it. So for John Mechie, he's got to go out there and lead this team, lead the wide receiver room with pinpoint catches, with big plays out there at that position. But as we move on over now to the defensive side of the ball, and in particular an inside linebacker, we pick up Shane Lee. And this is somebody who's truly kind of fallen off because after his freshman year in 2019, where he had to play in replacement of Dylan Moses, who got hurt prior to the season with the knee injury, and Shane Lee was put out there. He had to call the defense, run the defense, set all the schemes up, get everybody in order. And despite the production he had that year as a freshman, I remember like 85 tackles, like 7 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. He put up some strong numbers. Made the freshman All-SEC team, but the one knock on Lee was tightness in his hips. Didn't have the smooth fluidity movement of his hips. Going from sideline to sideline, kind of stiff in the hips there. And did not play last year. According to Coach Saban, he had a sports hernia type of injury, so he couldn't play last year. He couldn't play much last year. So this season, in fall camp thus far, you haven't heard much about Shane Lee. Nobody's been talking about him. Nobody has shown much concern. Nobody has been having him in conversations. And he's a talented guy. He's a good player. It's just, will we see Shane Lee on the field this season? That's a big question. Because with Henry To'o in here, and you've got Christian Harris, and you've got Jalen Moody, and you got all of these young guys at the inside backer position, chomping at the bit to get on the field. Kind of a tough, difficult spot to be in for Shane Lee, but we shall see what happens as we stick here with the linebackers, but now go to outside linebackers. This becomes Quentin Robinson. And people forget, he was a 5-star coming out of Jackson Olin High School in the Mobile area, not Mobile, here in Birmingham here in that 2020 class. And, a guy that, when he fills out his body, he could be a very successful player at outside linebacker. But just so much depth at that position when you discuss Chris Allen gets a lot of a talk. Will Anderson gets a lot of a talk. And whatever talk is not soaked up by those two, it's being taken over by Drew Sanders. It's being taken over by Chris Braswell. You got Keanu Kote, at that position as well. So Quentin Robinson, his time will come. It's just so much depth at the outside linebacker position. He's having a good camp. He's been productive. He's been playing well. It's just he is behind so many guys in that room coached by Sal Sunseri. So he'll continue to grow. He'll continue to get better. He will continue to develop. But as we continue with the outside linebackers, we now pick up Keanu Kote, who is a true freshman. And Keanu Kote was one of 2 guys that Alabama flipped from LSU during the early signing period last year in December. And Alabama fans, you were excited when the Tide was able to flip Keanu Kote. Now, he's been, once again, having a good camp, doing well in scrimmages. It's just so much depth, so many guys in front of him at that outside backer position. I feel like once Chris Allen graduates after this season, and then once Chris Allen graduates, and once Will Anderson does his thing and potentially moves on to the NFL, you could see some more of these guys, these young guys, get in the picture, get in the fray, and have success. Hopefully, we don't see these guys hit the transfer portal, but things happen. You never know what could happen. But Keanu Kote is having good camp, is having success here in scrimmages. Sticking with the defense, but now transitioning over to the defensive secondary, we pick up Quentin Robinson. And Robinson came into that 2020 class with guys like Malachi Moore, Brian Branch. He came in with those guys. And Christian Story also. And Robinson, he got on campus early before the end of the 2019 season, because he got here in December of 19. He was helping Alabama prepare for the Citrus Bowl against Michigan in Orlando, Florida. And with Robinson, he's about 6'2", close to 200 pounds, if not over that mark by now. With his body type, reminds you a little bit of Trayvon Diggs, long, lean, rangy, athletic type of guy, and he's been worked all over the secondary. He's getting some time at nickel. He's getting some time at dime. He's getting some time at star. He's number 23 on the film. So Quentin Robinson, number 23 on the tape here as you're watching this. The guys performing backpedaling drills with Coach Jay Valai. Quentin Robinson, number 23 on the video here. But here's a guy that's got length, he's got talent, he's got experience, he's got athleticism, but defensive back, just another position where Bama's deep at. I mean, Bama's got guys all over the field in terms of veteran players. So he's another guy that you have to wait until some of these guys filter out, whether it's through graduation, whether it's through going to the NFL draft. Once some of these older guys filter out here, he will have his opportunity. But Robinson actually had a pick off Jalen Milroe in the first scrimmage. So Quentin Robinson has been playing good ball here in fall camp. As we look at now, Devonta Smith in the secondary, the corner, not the receiver. Devonta Smith, who's number 27 on the tape there, as he was working with safeties under the leadership of Coach Charles Kelly. Smith, once again, another byproduct of the secondary's loaded. The defensive backfield is loaded. You've got Job and Armour Davis and Kool-Aid and Marcus Banks and Malachi and Brian Branch and DeMarco Helms and Jordan Battle and just so many guys in that back five to where, all over the field at various positions. It's Devonta Smith. It's learning that role. It's learning that position. It's growing in your spot. It's growing within the playbook. Having a good camp, performing pretty good in scrimmages. It's just, you're behind so many guys. And I've said this multiple times. The four positions Saban recruits the most, he's always going to get a stud and a ton of studs. And that's running back, wide receiver, defensive back, and linebacker. So guys like Quentin Robinson and Devonta Smith, kind of the beneficiaries of, they're behind a bunch of studs. And kind of have to wait their time to get on the field. As we go now to the offensive line and we pick up one Pierce Quick, this is a guy that I've been waiting to see get on the field, potentially being a starter, because he was nasty at Hewitt-Trussville High School, and at Bama, he's now put on weight. He's now 6'5", 309 pounds. I would like to see him get a look either as a starting tackle or as a starting guard. Doesn't really matter. Just would like to see big number 72, Pierce Quick, on the field. Now, recently, he's coming off of back surgery. So that's the reason why it's taken him a long time to kind of, get back in the flow of things. He did not participate at all in spring football. So upon him coming back from the back surgery, he's getting back in the flow of things. He's getting back in the swing of things. But hopefully we can see, him potentially make a push there to get on the field. And even when you look at guys like Kamar Wheaton, mentioning him, another byproduct of, you got a lot of backs on the field. You look at Brian Robinson, Roydell Williams, Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, Kamar Wheaton. He'll have his time. He'll have his moment. Just got to be able to, wait this thing out here.